Hey, Gary. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Jean. Welcome, everybody that's sliding in. Hopefully, everybody's having a good Sunday evening. Yeah. Welcome to another edition of Rolling the Bones Around the Cage. What's going on, Val?
Grizzly, coming to you live from Detroit, Michigan. I just want to shout out real quick to the veterans and the homeless people. Don't forget them in your prayers. There's some good people out there that need help. I also see Gary. Gary's got the old Ironside Army patch there. It's kind of cool. I noticed that. I recognize that. The armored division. That's very cool.
And I'm broadcasting live from Louisville, Kentucky still. So, yes. Hey, Roger
Louisville.
and Eric and Jean, yes. So, what we got cooking today?
Hey, I got Blake Duscher coming on from Michigan. He's a Bigfoot researcher. I've been out with that gentleman and several times over the past years. It's been a while since I've spoken with him, but I thought we'd bring him in and say hello to him and introduce him and see what's going on in Michigan from his perspective.
All right. Well, let's bring him in. Blake, come on down. Welcome to the show there, sir.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
How you doing there? Introduce yourself. Welcome.
My name's Blake Duscher, and I'm the founder of the Lost Cryptids Conservatory, a group here in Michigan. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. Got started kind of listening to my dad telling about stories of these wild men, these Bigfoot in the woods, and of course he'd seen the Patterson film in theaters as a kid, and so this kind of spurred this intrigue and watching stuff on the History Channel. And in the late 90s, there was stuff on the Sci-Fi Channel called Sightings X, a nice cool show that really influenced me with aliens and Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot in particularly. And then I started going out as a kid and all this. And then at 13, I had my first encounter. And ever since then, it's been gung-ho, and started a group here in Michigan a couple years back and trying to capture evidence and present it to the public.
Awesome.
So Blake, you hosted a conference recently that we were talking about backstage, and that was in Mason, Michigan. How far is Mason, Michigan from Dansville? Is that this Livingston County? Is that Ingham County?
Oh yeah, they're neighbor cities. So
okay,
5 miles.
Okay. Because there is a Mason County.
Right.
That's familiar with and stuff.
Not the same.
So has been a lot of sightings in Ingham, Livingston County around the capital of Michigan, as we both know. And so one of the areas that we're familiar with, you and I as well, is Waterloo State Park. What do you find unique about Waterloo State Park? And that's where I had my encounter, as you know.
Well, a couple things when I first went there is Michigan has a lot of different terrains and stuff, and on micro terrains and ecosystems is when I kind of call it. And there was a lot of, depending on what side you go, the left or the west or east side, there's ridges and stuff. There's these long ridges that go up and down. You can go up and down, and which is really kind of unique because a lot of the land around is mostly flat farmland and then marshy swampland and creek systems. So we don't really have a lot of ridge systems or anything that extends up dozens of feet. But there's a plethora of these different ridge systems that actually expand out. And we've been there several times. And one of the first times we had a lot of activity that as we were trying to go up and down these ridges, just kept going just out of our reach and staying up on these ridges, actually making calls and throwing stuff at us.
Mm-hmm. And that's very close to Chelsea, Michigan.
Yes, yeah, that would be like the middle. And there's also a bunch of rock mounds that we keep finding, or rock piles and stuff. Not sure if it's actually Native American mounds or if it's piles of rocks, but they're ranging from 20 feet in diameter to about 40 feet in diameter. It's the biggest one I've found. I
Did you
found
take
those
any?
in several
Did you
places.
did you take any pictures of those?
Yeah, I have some pictures and video on the YouTube and on Facebook and stuff, and a lot of stuff that I'm transferring over to the new computer right now, actually.
You know, in my in my research, that area of my sighting has also been of of interest to me because of its early Native American history, and that area right there used to be a Potawatomi trail that went from Lake Erie from the east side all the way through what we know as Waterloo State Park and westward, probably towards probably toward Cass County in that area, to the far reaches of southwestern Michigan. So a few years ago, I remember that there were a group of people camping. I wasn't there that night, and there was a relatively large storm that passed through the area. It seems like I remember somebody mentioning they heard thumping of drums or something in the late of night hours. Do you recall that?
Yeah, when we were in Waterloo
Mm-hmm.
and it was storming and stuff. Yeah, actually, I put out a little raw documentary. It's called the Waterloo Expedition. It's on YouTube, and actually showcases some of the evidence we caught on camera and stuff. But that was a very interesting, interesting place, interesting piece of property. It's an old, almost 300-year, 200-year homesteading piece of property and farmland, and backed right up next to the Waterloo recreational area. And I think private properties plays a big part in not only Bigfoot hiding, but they adapt and know, like, if there's old people on this property, no one's going there, no one's hunting this particular property. I think they study reasons in humans and farms and some very seasonal habitations of humans that they do on these pieces of property that Sasquatch can navigate around. But on this particular expedition, we had the whole gang from Michigan, all the researchers, and we went out, and it started storming and stuff. So we all went back in and started actually having a tornado that flew over. Torrential downpour. We all went into our cars or tents and stuff like that, and it was about midnight, and and people were packing up in their cars and moving around, and I started hearing drumming sounds. And at first, I looked over, and I was looking at the car next to me because there was a person in there, and he was getting ready to pretty much hit the hay. But I heard the drumming sound again. It was bum 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 bum, and it really didn't sound like mechanical. It didn't sound like it was the car next to me, and I heard it again, boom 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 boom, and I'm looking around. It's raining. It's going crazy, and it's just a very odd sound. So I actually go to sleep, and I wake up in the morning, and I look at my phone, and I got a text from James, and the text says, "Do you hear that drumming sound?" And it's like 30 minutes after I go to sleep. And so I talked to James, and he's like, yeah, I started hearing that drumming sound up by where he was at, which is up this little hill in a totally opposite direction from where I was hearing, which was behind me to my right side.
Mm-hmm.
And it was boom, 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 drumming sound. I'm not sure how it was exactly made. Maybe it was on the ground, or thump in the chest. I'm not sure, but other people actually seen and heard what sounded like footsteps going by their cars,
Mhm.
and actually hearing it enough and almost feeling the thump sound of the weight coming down, and also seeing a silhouette um, go in the rain.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And we were all pretty excited and stuff. Of course, we were trying to look for evidence, and with the torrential rains and stuff, it didn't leave any footprints. But what we were guessing and what later happened is we had activity there. And the following night, actually, we went out because basically, these Sasquatches are watching us at camp. They're interacting when they thought everyone was going to be inside. It really proved that the rain and the storms had no effect on whether or not they're going to be out there doing their thing. In fact, it made them more brave and come right into camp, run by cars, drumming sounds, really trying to stir up the pot. And so the next night and stuff, we were all around the area trying to look for things and hear stuff. And there was like most of the time, little things, little what ifs, maybes. That sounded kind of interesting, but there's nothing more going on, so you can't really determine anything. We did cast a footprint and stuff. It was kind of like this on a hill, tilted in, and we got a nice ankle, or pretty much heel of the foot kind of out of it. The rest of it didn't turn out too good, but when we were all pretty much going to sleep, um, I was the last one to pretty much go to sleep, and I had my tent next to the wood line, usually. And I actually recorded this, and I have the recorder going. I'm on my phone, and I'm getting tired, and I go to sleep, and you can actually hear my breathing change as I go to sleep. I'm now sleeping. You can actually hear me, and you right next to the tent and stuff, you hear something get pushed over or something breaks, and you actually hear me. I don't wake up, but I actually kind of grumble and snort a little bit and stay sleeping. And that was it. There was
Wow.
nothing else that happened that night.
Yeah, when we're sleeping, and we're not yet in that deep sleep, that REM sleep, that REM sleep. Um, yeah, we tend to make noises and hum or stuff like that. But when we're out and we're in the throes of REM, um, yeah, you get pretty quiet, pretty still, and you still hear things. If
Right.
you're
Right.
sensitive and stuff, you still hear things.
That is correct.
Hmm. And that's one of the things that I've learned over the years and stuff. You can still hear things. I can hear things on television while I'm sleeping, and go off into some thought or something where I'm not even part of that television show or something, but I can go off into that and stuff like that. But that area out there is quite interesting because, as you say, there's old settlements there, or evidence of old settlements there, and the War of 1812 was 200 years ago or better. That's a long time, and that's when the white people, the white European people, moved into the area. Other than that, uh, all of Michigan was wilderness, and but for a few villages and stuff, Native American villages and stuff, it was pretty desolate, wild. Um, I know I've read a lot of history, and even the settlers had to deal with, and especially in that area, Picanee and Waterloo, they had to deal with monster-sized mosquitoes. I mean, we think that we have it bad when we go out there in the woods and stuff, but these people had to deal with that. They had to deal with snakes, um, uh, giant mosquitoes, the swamp, the marsh areas, bears, wolves, and everything else that you can imagine. Plus, there was fighting going on. People were fighting, just like they are today, just like they were then. But all that area right there is very interesting. And one of the things that I learned when I was out there, and I've had a lot of time to think about this during my encounter, um, because that is a state-owned property. The state is guardian of that property. One of the times that I recall out there hiking with a group, we came out of the woods. We breached the woods. The tree line came out onto the road, and at that time there were some state employees that had stopped their vehicles, and they were bent over, scribbling down license plates of vehicles. I know this because I walked up behind one of them and asked them if they got their license plates that they needed, and they were startled. But in the reports that I've found, there are a lot of people that have been in that area, that live around that area, that know a lot more than we do, and have spent the time to sit next to police scanners and listen to the scanners. This was before our communications went from analog to digital. And in my opinion, the state knows very well what's out there. They know it so well that they post plenty of game cameras out there all over. They're watching. Probably for a few reasons, for poachers, for people dumping trash and stuff. I hate to see that when they dump trash. You've probably seen that out there too. Bags of trash that people just dump like idiots. But yeah, they know what's out there. They've said as much over police scanners. They didn't think public was listening to it, but yeah, they know what's out there. And what's interesting to me, Blake, is in Grizz is after I had my sighting, my encounter. That's the first time I've ever had this. I wasn't quite convinced there was such a thing as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. But I think the following summer, shortly after my sighting, there was a couple Army reservists camping out there. And they experienced something at night. And it shook them so badly, they ran to the newspaper and the radio station to talk about it. And then they clammed up and shut up about it, not saying any more about it. So, yeah, a lot of people know what's out there. And that's always been a pretty well-traveled area. Going north from the southern Ohio, Indiana border, heading northeast. That is a well-traveled area, corridor right there. Very busy, very popular. So, do you know other people that have gone out there, and do you know what their experiences were when they went out there?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few experiences. I think you and Bob Daigle have been out there. I think Bob said he found impressions of one laying down in winter. Gabe has been out there. He got scared off, but left charged in a cornfield trying to go to the spot that you encounter. I think Linda actually has a thermal image of something standing. It is pretty interesting because there is a bit of red heat color on the road, but it doesn't pick up this thing that's standing there. It's pretty interesting. There is I've talked to other people who lived around there who have experienced stuff. Alex, he's experienced stuff at 15. And it's scared him, and he doesn't go in the woods at night. He doesn't go out fields at night. He knows that these are out there in that area. He grew up around there, and basically he at 15, just before hunting season and stuff, he was cutting across the field as a shortcut, and at nighttime he came across what he sounded. He didn't know what was going on at first, but very quickly he determined that there was these things out there, and this one he described as a male came up through the cornfield, kind of revealed itself at him, and had these just massive, just killer death in his eyes, just staring at him, almost making him pee in his pants, and he just like he just interrupted their hunt and stuff. And this thing is really, really, really mad, and then he of course turned around and ran, and they paralleled him back until he got out of that area. But during hunting season, he said that they came to where he was at and started messing with him, and he interrupted their hunt. Now they're interrupting his hunt, and it scared him that he left. And he doesn't go in the woods. He doesn't go bigfooting with us. He comes and hangs out at camps with enjoyment. But that is right in this area. And he also talked about back in the 70s. The story goes that this deputy was out there looking for missing party goers, and their family said that at nighttime they basically were hanging out and heard a baby crying in the woods, and they went missing, and the sheriff or the police officer went out there and found ripped up bodies thrown up in the tree, many, many feet up in the tree. And he told his superior about it, the chief, and said that he'll handle it. Don't talk about it to anyone else. And he said that nothing else happened. No other agencies came in. He never asked about it, never talked about it. And that was it. The story Alex told said that this officer only told this after he retired, many, many years after he was an old man. And Alex knew the family members who related to this guy, and says it's a true story. And there's no reason for Alex to lie and stuff, or to embellish a Bigfoot story when he's not into Bigfoot, and I could care less about that crap. So
that's interesting.
It's a story. That's what it is. I would love to try to be able to prove it, but
without knowing more information, Blake and Grizz, it would be difficult. And I say that because myself, I spent at least 2 years, 21 months looking for an 19-year-old that went missing, and he had been missing for over 31 months or so. I mean, or 31 years rather. And it's very difficult. You ask any private investigator how easy it is to locate somebody, an absconder, a debtor, a missing person, anybody like that. It's not easy. Even with technology, it's not easy. It is not easy. And I was going back 30, 31 years when this young man went missing, hitchhiking from Daytona, Florida, across the deep South, on his way to Houston, Texas. He stops off in Louisiana, makes a collect call to his mother, telling her he's frightened. He wants to come home. The problem is the mother doesn't have a vehicle and she doesn't drive. All she can do is say her prayers and wish him the best and tell him that she loved him. And that's the last thing that she did. So he disappears. He falls off the face of the earth. Nobody hears from him. He doesn't call, collect anymore. And that's when I got involved in it. So in 2012, as a matter of paying it forward, I volunteered my time and efforts to locate this individual. And it was kind of weird how this started out, because somebody that I knew contacted me by phone, telling me that some woman wanted to meet me. She wanted to talk to me. And the woman, I guess, was a medium. Is that what you call them, Grizz? Mediums? Yep. She didn't know me. I didn't know her. I'm certain in my lifetime I've never met this woman. Oh, I might have, you know what? I might have seen her someplace in passing, but if we had no occasion to chit chat, I didn't know her. But she wanted to speak with me. And the first thing that came out of her mouth when she seen me was, "You're an old soul. You've been here many times before." And she proceeded to say some other things that were quite personal. And one of the last things that she said to me, this woman I've never met before, was she asked me, she didn't really ask, but she told me, she says, "You're looking for somebody." And I said, "Yes." She explained, "I don't see that individual, that person on this plane. That doesn't mean they're dead. That doesn't mean they're not alive. That just doesn't mean that I can't see them. I can't sense them. I can't feel it." And in passing, she said, "They know, they, not he, not she, they, THEY, they know you're looking for them. And they'll let you know when they're ready to be found." With that, I took what she said, which included a warning for me to take under advisement. I took that for what it was. I don't know this woman. I never talked to her before, but, it was interesting. So I ended up at 3:00 in the morning. I worked midnights for 15 years, over 15 years. And 3:00 in the morning, I call this woman in Ohio. That's her son that disappeared. And I asked her to tell me exactly what she remembers about the last phone call that she had with her son. And don't leave out any details. Tell me everything. She did. She cried. She wept. When she composed herself, I told her, "I'm going to make a promise to you right here that I'm going to look for your son and I'm going to bring him home to you." She thanked me profusely. We hung up. And from that point on, I went to work, got busy, took some time off, because this was an unofficial hunt for this individual. I wasn't doing this as a part of my job. But as you know, I was a licensed private investigator when I wasn't working. And I wasn't going to use law enforcement resources to find this individual. That's illegal. And I wasn't going to do that. Although I had the means to do it, I didn't do it. I can't do it. It's just not who I am. I was involved in a large international intelligence group while I was working law enforcement. and I got a couple names, contacts, who to contact down in Louisiana, just furtively. Just the names appeared on my computer. Contact, this is a person, contact this person. Either one, contact them. And I did. From that point on, I made contact with the forensic science down in New Orleans, Louisiana. And of course, like every state, whoever does the forensic testing does that as a courtesy to all within that state. Anybody else, any jurisdiction outside of that state has to pay the fee, has to pay the money, and it's very expensive. DNA testing was very, very expensive. And I only got the contact name from this individual. Once it was clear to them what I was doing, they knew who I was. When they understood that I was doing this as a matter of paying it forward, free, gratis, no charge. I wasn't making any money. I wasn't being paid. There was no promise of being paid. And I was doing this completely on my own. They matched my act of paying it forward with their own. And they said, tomorrow morning, be waiting at your mailbox, and you'll see that UPS truck pull up. And you'll have 2 kits, DNA kits, free of charge, free, gratis. This is our way of paying it forward. In other words, that one simple act initiated others to do the same thing. So I took the kits down to Ohio, made out my own report, took my notes, my information, and gave a swab test to the mother and a live living survivor, a sibling of the missing man. Packed it up, sealed it up, sent it off, followed it up with a phone call to ensure that they received that specimen sample. Once I was confident that it was received and that the test sample specimen that I took was good and they can use it, excuse me, I went on to the other things. And that was making contact with a retired crime reporter from the Houston Chronicle. In my chatting with them, I learned that during that time period where this individual went missing, there were a number, more than 24 suspected serial criminals on the loose, prowling that corridor, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, all of that area. And that information was not privy to the public. They couldn't release that to the public. So the bottom line is this. About 21 months later, after that test sample was taken, I get a phone call from a medical examiner down in Houston, Texas. And they asked me, do you want the good news or you want the bad news first? And I says, I'll take the bad news first. She says, homicide. And I says, is there good news? She said, there is. We know where he's at. I says, where is he at? She says, we got him right here. He's been a John Doe for all those years. This was a young man that never carried any identification. This is before DNA. He went missing before DNA was even brought to the United States from the UK. But my experience of autopsies that I've been involved in, that I've been present at, I remember that when they do these autopsies, they take specimens, they take pieces of bone or flesh or organs or something, and they pack it away like a librarian packs catalogs and packs away a brand new book. And so they do this with the idea that if the science isn't here today, we know someday in the future science may catch up with us. So we're going to hang on to this piece of DNA, and that's exactly what they did. So, to make a long story short, there is a huge, massive database, federal database. It's called NAMUS, NAMUS, like name me, name us. Well, within the NAMUS database, there are hundreds of thousands of names, just like that, unidentified people, by the hundreds, by the thousands. And what I found when I stepped into this was, first of all, I know because I had to go back and trace his steps. Just like you see on television, that's what I did. I didn't know where he went. I didn't know what route he took, but I have to look at it pragmatically, as though that were me. If I was down in Daytona, which route would I take to go to Houston, Texas? So naturally, I would look at Interstate 10, I-10. I-10 I did not know. I know now that it runs from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. It's the only interstate that does that in the United States, in the continental United States. And what I found on that long stretch, all along that interstate, there are state and federal national parks. There are tons of people gone missing, or if they haven't gone missing, they have tons of unidentified bodies that they have no name for, that they find all along that interstate. That's what I was dealing with. 21 months. And there I was, making that phone call to the family. Okay, I'm in keeping with this promise. I'm bringing your son home. It's going to take me another 3 months because I have to get permission to transport human remains across the federal state lines. And that's what I did. So when we're talking about whoever it was that told you that somebody heard something about something, I don't know if that's true or accurate. I wouldn't know. But things like that happen. This deal that I was involved with had nothing to do with Bigfoot. But there's a lot of them out there, a lot of them, and it's very, very difficult to trace and track down and stuff. It's not easy. But that, to me, that was the point in which I knew I was ready to retire. That was my last curtain call. You know how you sit back and watch a play or watch a good movie? You really enjoy it and you really appreciate the actors and the players there. And they come out and they stand for the applause and bow. They're thanking you. They're thanking you for acknowledging them. That's respect. And to me, what I went through, and before I decided it was time for me to retire, that was my curtain call. That's how I did it. I didn't allow anybody to dictate the terms for me, but I chose the time for me, and that was the time for me. So I'm very curious about that incident. I would like to know what year it occurred, because I could access, at one time I could access that database and read compartments that non-law enforcement people could. today, right now. The public can't access all of that information, those details. But something like that would be good to go back and research. And quite frankly, as a civilian now, I can still access that site, but not the real dirt behind a lot of these things and stuff, the details and stuff, the finite details. That's up to law enforcement to do, but I don't know. It's a mystery.
Yes, it's actually not the first time I heard about Bigfoot's attacking someone, or actually have another story of a Bigfoot researchers. But I didn't know him or nothing. This comes from a person who had Bigfoot activity on his property, and he related to another person who related to me. But he was very adamant that this guy is pretty shook up about the Bigfoot on his property. But there was another researcher who was supposed to check out the property. He went out west to some spot, and supposedly the Sasquatch killed him there, and the police questioned that guy and kind of told him that just, you need to hush up about this particular person and what he did. And of course, people go missing in the wilderness all the time. It's pretty easy to chalk it up as missing. Just you just go missing. There is no explanation. You leave it open doored. Now, I do think Sasquatch are opportunists and will, they do whatever they want. When I'm in the woods and I'm around them, they do whatever they want. It's always been pretty good. Never really been super scared enough to fear for my life. But at the same time, there's a lot of missing people in Michigan and around the U.S. And I think sometimes Sasquatches, for whatever reason, might be hungry or might fancy grizzly and stuff, sporting the big beard, and a female might, say, "You're not leaving. You're coming with me." It doesn't have to be bad.
Picture the grizzly.
You've entertained me enough that what I want to keep playing around with you. Let's
think about that in Kentucky now.
Or with kids and stuff. Maybe the mother instinct of animals can be very intense, and there's other documentations of lions with different types of prey animals that are babies, and cats and dogs will take on tigers and lions and different animals as babies seem to. So maybe female Sasquatches, want to interact with our kids and stuff, or if they lost a child and stuff, great apes are known to steal other babies because of the loss of their child and stuff, to try to replace that. I mean, there's a whole host of circumstances and ways of thinking that they do that we just don't understand why they do certain things. But for most part, I think there's no incidents that go on. I mean, how many days a year are they around people and around these private properties on the daily that nothing happens? They just watch. They might scare us out of the woods, but for the most part, they just evade and just watch us and watch what we're doing and spy in our windows, watching TV. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just makes me think, what are they thinking? What is the whole system that they have going on that keeps them just out of our sight, out of the public's recognition, but yet they're in their backyards for the most part, traveling through Michigan, going in between the houses and farm fields and swamps and stuff, and even into these cities. Most people laugh at the idea, but they don't go in the backyard after dark. Besides letting the dogs out, they're watching TV at 10. No one's patrolling the land or anything. We don't actually, when that light switch turns off, that's it. It's their world.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they thrive on the fringes of people. More people, the merrier. This nonsensical idea that they just want to be left alone, that's nonsense. They have to be around people. Why? Because people have food, people have resources. Where man goes, there's water. They need water. They need food. Uh, we have pets. Food is food. Sorry, but cats and dogs, that's food. That might not be their choice, but they know where there are people, there's refuse. And when we live in metro areas, large metro areas, hundreds of thousands of people, there is mounds and mounds of trash, isn't there? That's a source to them. That's always been a source to them. The idea of prowling the backyards, peeping the windows. Hey, they just want to be left alone. I guess they want to tell you, I want to be left alone. So they go peep in your window and prowl your backyards. That's nonsense. That is nonsense. For the life of me, I don't understand why people pass that narrative on like that. That's nonsense. They want to be left alone, so they prowl your backyards, and trigger the security lights and stuff. That is just nonsense. Really.
Yeah. Maybe it comes from just the interaction that researchers are trying to achieve. They just want to be left alone. They're not interacting with us on that level, but yeah, they definitely utilize our shortcomings as modern humans, being stuck on our phones and technology. They really have just adapted to just run around us, and they people watch. They've been watching us. I'm sure. I don't know how they relay this culturally, but white men have come over. The natives fought all these wars. The Civil War happened. War of 1812. You have a lot of different industrial revolution, pre-World War II. Then you have the highway systems being built after World War II. I mean, massive changes that they've all seen and adapted to. And now you have technology and computers and all this. And yet they're still able to hide away just like they have with no problem adapting, watching people, probably watching, especially homesteads, family farms, watching generations grow up and knowing, oh yeah, it's this farmer's, it's December, he's doing this. May comes around, yeah, they're doing this on the farm right now. Summer rolls around, this is what they're doing, we can expect this. It's pretty adaptable and easy to watch stuff and figure out what's going to happen based on the patterns that you've already developed using your observation for years and years and years and years. Even that you can watch places start to being developed, land starts changing, more cities get risen up. You can strategize, and how you're going to navigate that if you've spent the last hundreds of years watching these places actually develop. It's not that hard. It's not hard to adapt and overcome. Mm-hmm. And they are probably the best on the planet besides humans that have been able to do that. Mm-hmm. I think even more so because they've adapted to survive our craziness and our destruction of the planet.
Well, that's the people demeanor and mannerisms. That's a whole different topic. Right here, talking about Bigfoot, Sasquatches, people watching. Don't we raise our children to do the same thing? The children learn how to eat, they learn how to talk, they learn how to socialize, walk, because they watch us. That's the same way, that's, to me, in my opinion, that's the same way that Sasquatch does. The only difference is they use the outdoors, the environment. That's an evolved learning experience for them. They breathe it, they live it, they learn it. It's an innate way of life for them. It's not for us. It is for them. That's the difference. That is the difference. Excuse me.
No, and you're right, and I think that goes a long ways, and And I agree with you, Val, on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, the kids, they know that they don't go outside in the rain. Even the small children, they know that they don't go out in the snow. Sasquatch babies and stuff like that. They know. They learn. They learn to hide. They learn to use the environment to conceal themselves. They know that there's adversaries out there, people maybe, that could be harmful to them. They learn. They know. It's a learned process. It's part of their makeup. But somebody on my group site was saying, I never heard. I was talking about trophies and ornaments, and I used the term loosely to explain objects found in trees, and try to explain why I believe those items are left there. And when it was mentioned that people also, and I put quite the list together. I don't know, Blake, have you known anybody to study and analyze and research 138,000 reports?
No.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I mean, the number is probably greater than that, but that's a lot. That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of intense analysis. And then to come back and take parts of that information and put it together in such a way that I can share that and talk intelligently about a subject matter. And that's what I do. And that's what I've been doing. But when you talk about whether it's missing people or the trophies and ornaments and trees, I mentioned, human beings too. People end up in trees, just like deer, just like bear, cougar, wolves, dogs, bikes, tents, cows, horses, everything. It's their statement, just like a business card here. This is my business. This is me. This is who I am. That's what those objects in a tree mean. That's me. Do you want some of me? Come over here and meet me here at such and such time. Get with me. You want to be a part of this? Meet with me. Don't touch this. This is mine. This is my handiwork. That's what, to me, that's what I see, what I recognize of that. So when I mentioned on my group site, a person ended up in a tree. Well, Val, I've never heard you talk about that. I've never heard you. Well, it's I go through great pains to put together, a thread from research material to do that. But nevertheless, the one that I posted for his reading was an incident where a farmer was out in his fields, plowing his fields, and he was gone for an extended period of time, in the summers with the long summer nights, a lot of daylight and stuff. They're gone for a long time, working hard out there in the hot, sweaty sun, getting the crop in. So he doesn't show up back at the farmhouse. His family becomes alarmed. They go out and look for him. And they apparently found him. They found him dismembered in a tree. And they found one of his legs in his bloody pants, 30 feet away from the tree. He had 1,000-pound, they say he had 1,000-pound workhorse with him. And the neck of that horse was broken. and ripped. So my question when I posted that for him to see, I'm not just talking about this, I'm showing you. My question was, what on earth could an old, hardworking, dusty farmer do to a Bigfoot Sasquatch that would respond by doing that to a human being? In your wildest imagination, what could he have possibly done?
Um, well, if Sasquatch is really hungry, lack of sleep, and you interrupt a hunt, it could be pretty bad. I've shot a gun off and upset a Sasquatch, and he yelled at me, and a female stopped him. Uh, you know, these things aren't predictable. They're not really human. They don't communicate, and if we cross the invisible line that we don't know we're supposed to do, or he came up and maybe he was with a female friend, and he interrupted stuff, and you can get there could be a bunch of stuff where a young Sasquatch being pumped up with testosterone, has had enough, or goes rogue, injured one and stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit above and beyond. But I think that kind of behavior doesn't really go well, and they've learned to, like, when that it causes attention, people go missing. There's hundreds of people now with guns and helicopters and all this stuff going on, and I think the very smart ones, the ones I've interacted with, they don't seem, like they could hurt. They want to hurt you. I've actually been up north, in an area where there's a lot of missing people, and I had a rifle on me, and they actually announced the presence to us by brushing the ground. I turned around and drew my rifle, pointed at the direction, but at the ground. I shouldered it very quickly when I kind of thought it was Sasquatch, and it turned out it was, because they showed themselves. But like that's a big risk reward factor going into that thinking of, I'm going to announce myself by brushing the ground, and these people are going to turn around. One has a gun and stuff, and we're going to hope that he doesn't shoot us. There's some, I don't know what they wanted, what kind of interaction, what the goal was.
What do you mean brushing the ground? I don't know. Just so I can process it and understand what you're saying.
Well, we were walking on the trail, and we heard like movement or brushing of the ground, leaves, were rattling very fast. I'm not sure if it was just them moving and choosing to be loud, or physically doing something to the ground, because there's no reason for them just to announce themselves. Oh, hey, we're here, when they're usually quiet and they can watch us and follow us back to camp, which is what they were doing the whole week we're up there. But I mean, me and Jason started having this interaction and filming them. They stepped out behind this tree. This one was 3 feet off the ground, and this other one about 8 feet steps out, and they're looking like this. And I'm still thinking, okay, it could be, it's not a bear and stuff. It's not moving around like a bear. Maybe it's a raccoon. It's pretty close to the tree. But when it turned and looked up, and you see this massive cone head, the forehead, it went like this, and then it shot way angled up. And I realized, this is Sasquatch. And Jason actually filmed this. We actually have this on the YouTube channel, and his Searching for Sasquatch documentaries #3 on Tubi. He actually turns, and he's seeing stuff, or he instinctively kind of knows there's something over here, and he sees one stand up, drop on the ground, and spider crawl across the trail, and it does freak him out. He's filming himself in real time as he sees it, so you can actually see his body transform as he's witnessing it. You see all these micro expressions in his face that he's really scared. And I spoke native to him. I thanked him in English and stuff, and told him to come back to camp. And they didn't interact with the people at the camp as much as that. announcing themselves. And I was waiting for something to happen, where you got our attention, and they showed themselves in the darkness and the silhouette, but they didn't say nothing. There was no response verbally. There was no type of communication. It was almost to see what we were doing, how would we react.
One of the fascinating things that I learned from Rod from Australia, we were comparing notes between Yowies and Bigfoots as we know them. And he suggested, he started talking about sticks. And I said, what do you mean communicate with sticks? What do you mean? Again, like I just mentioned to you, explain it to me so I can process it and understand what you're talking about. You might know what you're talking about. I don't. I've never heard the term before. So when I share this with you in the listening audience, if somebody would try this and experiment and see where it goes, this is what I'm going to tell you is a form of communication. And I'll tell you how it was explained to me and how they communicated with Sasquatch or Yahweh. And what it is, it's when Sasquatch is out there watching you, you feel it, you know it. Your instinct tells you you're being watched. If you have a suspicion it's Bigfoot, Sasquatch, you're camping, take the time, and for every individual in that camp, you get sticks. If there's 6 people in that campsite, put 6 sticks out there in front, because what they want to know is how many people are in that campground, in that campsite. And he says what they found when they do this, the Yowie reciprocate, and they tell them by posting opposing sticks, I'm here with somebody else, or 2 people or 3 people, individuals. So they'll post 3 sticks of their own. So they're telling you, and you're telling them how many people we have in the camp here. They want to know. They're curious. And they're telling you how many individuals they have in their party right there. That is communication. If it works, good. If it doesn't, oh well. But remember when you look at history, look back into history, what did when soldiers confronted Native American Indians in the Wild West, or whether they battled each other or not, they carried guide arms. Remember the long poles with the points on the end of them? And they had the ribbons. They had the campaign ribbons. The campaign ribbons told everybody what this unit was about. It told anybody that knew anything about military protocol, what campaigns they were involved in, what years they were. But that was them. When you're looking at those soldiers, you're looking at that guide arm, that pole. And when they confronted their perceived enemies, they would slam that guide arm into the ground. This is us. This is who we are. You want to know who we are? Look at us. This is it. And I believe the Native Indians did the same thing with the spear, the ceremonial spear. When that was driven into the ground, this is me. That was a communication. But I find the parallels between the two in what Rod was telling me, what they experienced and encountered in Australia. The same thing. It doesn't mean that they want to war with each other. It just, out of curiosity, who are you? How many people are here with you? Well, there's 6. Okay. It's up to you whether or not you make the overture of, gifting something. I don't know. You go out and hunt, you leave a deer out there or something. I don't know if that works, but it's just an idea. It's a thought, but it's something that came to mind when you were speaking about brushing, in the dirt brushing and stuff. But the sticks, it's very, very intriguing point to be made from Australia. But this is what we do when we network back and forth, with different ideas, different experiences. This is a great learning experience because this is how we learn. So
I'm gonna definitely try that actually. That it brings up the kind of a tree structure and stuff. I actually have found a number of structures and interesting stuff that maybe it's communication, it's definitely manipulation for some reason, and I've documented a number of these over the years, and recently have come across some, and a sapling that is, it's upright. The root system is actually in the crotch of a tree, and it's, I don't know if it's pointing in a direction. I don't know what it means, but it definitely is not nature. And
it didn't grow like that.
No,
it didn't grow out of a fork of a tree.
Right.
Now,
Absolutely.
What I found interesting about the inverted trees, again, my thoughts. This is stuff that I read, that I study, look at, question. But I know that, we've talked about Hollywood a lot. And when you understand that nothing that you see on television, nothing that you see at the cinemas are accident. They're all there serving a purpose. And those people who produce those movies, whether it's science fiction or creepy horror movies, anything that you see on that television, that electronic television, you can almost bet that it's happened in real life, because nothing is produced without the okay of the overlord, the person that stands and watch over the producer's shoulder and tells him whether or not you can produce this, and you can share this, and you can tell about this. And when I say overlord and watcher, I'm talking about in my early adult life experience, long before Poland became a democracy and it was still communist. I played chess, and I was friends with some of the communist Polish students that came over from the university to come to Ohio to study research. Let's just put it that way. They were studying. They were here, and our government knew they were here, and they were studying, but they were surely from an Eastern Bloc communist country. The only catch to that was, and these were all doctorate people. All of these individuals, these students had doctorates, PhDs. I played chess with them. I drank with them. We went out to the nightclubs together. I mean, we had fun. We really had fun. But the only catch to that was that if you go to the United States, and they're telling the students, the exchange students, you go to the United States and you have to bring a watcher with you. Who is the watcher? He's the person that reports back to the government when they get back to their native Poland. And that person is there all the time. I mean, he's there, and I knew this guy. I mean, I talked to him, played chess with him, ate with him, broke bread with him, took him to the nightclubs. I did. And we drank together. But he was a card-carrying communist, and his job was to make reports on these students. Were they good? Were they bad? Did they say something that they weren't supposed to say? Because he's going to go back. He's going to go back and report on them. That's his job. That's the same way that I see Hollywood when they make these movies and stuff. So when I first seen the inverted trees, there was a movie, a horror movie that came out about a Bigfoot or something, a screaming Bigfoot with the inverted trees. Remember that? Did you see that before? The inverted trees, to me, the inverted trees is a symbolism of rage. Rage, R-A-G-E, rage. Out of control rage. And I don't know what the purpose of the inverted tree in your case was, but when trees are flipped upside down, backwards, that's not normal. That is not normal. That's a statement. And to me, it's a statement of being. This is my disposition. And this is what I want to communicate to people. And I just as soon stay away from it. If an individual was doing this, I'd stay away from that individual. You know, they got a couple bolts loose. And who knows what they might do. Now, on the other hand, you talk about missing people and this kind of stuff. As an experienced person who's dealt with missing people on different levels, I mean, I've went out looking for, in the capacity of a law enforcement officer, we were looking for a small child. And long story is, I had to stay overnight out in the woods at an abandoned farmhouse with his little crumpled body. He was a murder victim. And I sat with him. And throughout the night, I listened to the police radio. I had the car radio on, but I felt his presence there. The little boy was confused. He was scared. His little spiritual body. And I talked to this little boy. I'm convinced of it. And I told him, I says, you don't need to be scared anymore, little boy. I'm here with you. Nobody's going to harm you again. If you see a white light, follow the white light. You'll be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And so when I'm talking about missing people, and I know Grizz has a show about cold cases, missing people and stuff. I don't know how many of those people have experienced this kind of stuff, that dealt with this kind of stuff. I mean, on a personal level, it's very tough. It's very hard. But I can tell you, being a amateur Bigfoot researcher, I'm not paid to do this. Yes, I believe Sasquatch, Bigfoot are responsible for some missing people, not all. You've got people that disappear because they want to disappear. They want to fall off the grid. They don't want to be followed. They don't want anybody to know that they exist. You've got people that fall prey to natural predators out there in the wilderness. You got people that get sick, have accidents, and they succumb to the weather, to other prey. You've got murders out there that like other predators, they take advantage of the fact that they're out there remotely and they dispatch somebody. You've got other, let me emphasize this. You've got other unworldly beings out there. I believe this. There is a war going on down below us in these tunnels. And it's bringing whatever bad things that you thought was just a fiction, a horror show from the Hollywood movies and stuff. Those exist. They come up. And that's when you look at YouTube or look at some magazine and you see some horrible thing and nobody has a name for it. Nobody says, where'd this come from? It must be CGI. Let's explain it like that. When I'm looking at these reports by the hundreds and thousands, I'm looking at tracks. And there's probably, I think I probably got a database file of over 8,000 tracks. I look at this stuff as data sets. Some of these tracks don't have 5 digits. They don't have 5 toes. They got 6. Some of them have 3 toes. Why does that make a big? I mean, why does that make a big difference? Because what are you looking at? I mean, what makes 3-toed tracks? An alligator? A crocodile? I don't think crocodiles and alligators are walking around in the snow. I don't think that's going to happen. So what else could it be? There's been reports, I've seen reports along the Canadian border of aircraft pilots who have reported observing large Sasquatches being followed by what they call black salamanders. You know, where'd this stuff come from? You know, how is this happening? And it's not the first time that I've seen that. I've seen it a couple times. But I also see a lot of reports, and I think Grizz and I were talking about this before, and something I don't mention, I don't even allow on that Facebook group site is talk of UFOs. But you know what? There are more than a dozen, a couple dozen, maybe 3 dozen reports that connect Bigfoot with UFO craft, all simultaneously, all in the same report. That is not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Nothing is a coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidence. Coincidence is in your mind. That's where it's at. Everything in this world that we see, we touch, we feel, we taste is purpose driven. It's for a reason. And there are a lot of different reasons why people go missing. Human trafficking, it's a big deal. There's a lot of things. But just to step off that lectern for a minute and to say this, that Bigfoot Sasquatches aren't responsible for every missing person out there. I don't believe that. Not for 1 minute. But
No.
But, you know, that's not to say be foolish out there. You know, somebody was saying Scott Carpenter, you know, said that he didn't trust them either. Well, you know, Scott was a wise man. I admired him. I read his material. I followed him. And he had it right, as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing about Sasquatches that I want to hurt. I don't want to hurt anything. I don't want to hurt or harm any living creature. I don't. That's not my being. But on the other hand, there's nothing in God's green earth that says I have to be foolish either and stupid. And if I do, that's on me. It's not on anybody else. But as long as people can make money, make a profit from telling people, you know, I talk to Sasquatches and I love them. They love me back. We sing to each other and all this kind of stuff. That's fine. That's great. If you know, there's a peaceful balance with people and stuff, that's great. But on the other hand, you have to know what the other side is too, and it's very real. There's such thing as the Miller document, and that man closes out his long document, issuing an ominous warning. You know, people can say what they want, but this man, very, very, very schooled, very learned in his work in anthropology, worked for the government. He said Sasquatches are very, very loyal to their own kind, furiously, and that they require huge amounts of resources to sustain themselves. And it is his opinion that man and Sasquatch will never coexist together. Why did he say that? What did he mean by that? What he meant by that is as the resources shrink, fewer and fewer possible resources for food, whether it's deer, elk, people's garbage, whatever it is, as that shrinks, that brings Sasquatch closer to man. And his ominous warning was mankind, man, and Sasquatch can never coexist together. This is something that the government has known for a long time. Think about, process that, and think about it.
So Brian Barber wants to know, what is your most memorable and most scariest encounter?
My most memorable one is with me and Jason up in the UP, where they showed themselves to us. We see the silhouettes. The two of them. We were pointing at them, trying to film. He actually did film it in 4K and stuff, but you just can't see their eye shine in that particular moment. We do capture eye shine 2 other moments. That was my most thrilling, amazing one because of everything that happened and so many questions that have left unanswered. The scariest one is when I got yelled at by the male, and I was on a piece of private property coyote hunting, and I shot at a possum that was way too close that I missed. And I heard the neighbor yelling at me, and he at first I was like, okay, why is he yelling? I heard it again, and I just like, well, something don't sound right. And then I heard moo, 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 moo. And I'm thinking, that's not English. That's not English. He's not speaking English. And then I heard it again, and I really realized, like, oh my gosh, is this a Sasquatch? And then he was parallel me coming down this wood line, and he was angry, and this female was with him, and they were like bickering like a married couple and stuff. And she was, I call it like sing song language. She was saying all over the place, and she was fluttering, like all sorts of weird stuff. It sounded like sing song bird language type of. It's really hard to describe. And he bickering as they're coming down, and they get about 100 yards away, parallel right with me, and then they go quiet. And for 15 minutes, I hear a little twig break here, a little rustling here, and I can feel this heavy presence, and I actually do get scared, and I go in, and that was it. And but it felt like when he was yelling, it was human emotion. It wasn't an animal. When they were talking to each other, it was communication like a human would, like a married couple would, like no, Fred, don't go up to him and show him what you mean business. Now he got a gun, and now come on, calm down. And it was like he was gonna go and teach me a lesson. Like, you don't do that around here, because I probably was the first person to shoot a gun out at that place in many, many years at nighttime. And for whatever reason, it upset that male Bigfoot enough that he yelled at me, and then he was going to come right up to me, and I don't know what he was going to do. But that female, it felt like she talked him down, calmed him down enough that they're just going to go in and be quiet, and they just crept up on me, and I'm holding my 223 bolt action rifle, and they weren't scared of it.
Wow.
He didn't care that I just shot a gun off. He didn't care. And there's 4 houses right there, all in 100 yards. And this is everyday America. And you go ask, and they would never believe that Sasquatch would live around their house. But that's just how it is. That scared me a lot because I didn't know what I did. I crossed that invisible line of I'm coyote hunting. I'm shooting possums at night, getting the trash, and coyotes are killing cats and stuff, and the neighbors don't care about that. But to them, it was very bad. I crossed the line, and he was pissed.
That's incredible. Val, you're speechless.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments here.
Yeah, hey, Standing Stones, welcome to the show.
Tammy was mentioning the inverted trees.
Yes, I saw that. You see the one where Bigfoot was throwing trees at the UFO?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we don't understand. They understand. I, for one, subscribe to the theory that they were brought here. Those were brought here from another place for a reason. And some say, speaking about that, some say that that their planet was destroyed, and they're here at the behest of somebody else, and they're here. They're here to work like mules, like horses, to mine precious metals and stuff that aren't found in another place on another planet. That's what some of the thinking is, and they don't Sasquatch, Bigfoots, according to the theories. They don't really want to be here any more than we would like to have them in our backyards either. But it is what it is, and so when you're involved in this, you find yourself reading everything you can, like a starving elephant. You grab up everything, and that's being informed. That's how you become informed. You just read everything, consume it, like a vacuum cleaner, and you take all that information and you use it to balance and weigh back and forth, and you decide, yeah, I believe this, or no, I don't believe that, and this is the reason why. But yeah, those are some good topics. Some of the strangest things that that I'm aware of that occurred in Michigan, where in the Tuscola County parts, where when the early Bigfoot pioneers, Art Kappa and Wayne King, began their hunt back in the 60s, 70s, they fought each other. They were good friends in the beginning, and then towards the end, they became separate peoples with different ideas, because one was a pro-kill, allegedly. The other was no-kill. And because of those differences, it brought the two of them at loggerheads, and they couldn't overcome, the differences. So they split up from the Michigan Bigfoot, whatever it was, Clearance Center, whatever it was. But they did very, very good work. And so for a long time, Tuscola County had always been the epicenter of Bigfoot reports in Michigan, of course, because that's where the gentlemen were working out of. But one of the strangest Bigfoot reports was this neighborhood being inundated with Bigfoots. And they're constantly calling the sheriffs and the state police out there to the neighborhood. And as much as law enforcement is reluctant about speaking about Bigfoots or getting involved with Bigfoots, to this day, I can look at a database and tell you law enforcement involvement with Bigfoot goes into the thousands. I'm talking about thousands. The idea that Bigfoot doesn't exist, it's a myth. It's only unsaid. But in this case in Michigan, deputies are called to a house where the homeowners report the Bigfoot are running all over their front yard, their front lawn, as they say. The deputies arrived, and the witness says the deputies drive off the road into the front lawn, and they're chasing the Bigfoots out of the front yard into the woods in a sheriff's car.
Oh, yeah. And I do think
Seems like they've done that before.
I really do think Blake was saved by the female Sasquatch. I do think that the female had some persuading on his side. So,
well, maybe she. I don't know.
Something that saved me a few times before when I was younger.
It felt like it.
Something that Janice Cotter has mentioned in her book and said in interviews before was with the Bigfoot Sasquatches, if they deviate from their arrangement, man, woman, woman, man, male, female, if they go outside that circle and become involved in another male, the female pays the price, and part of the price is mutilation, whether it's the nose or the ears or something on her face is mutilated to let everybody know, she was not good, she was unworthy, she was untrustworthy. But there was a report out of the I don't know, Montana, North Dakota area, about, maybe it was possibly in Washington, about a truck driver who's chit-chatting back and forth on CB radios with other truck drivers to break the monotony. He's driving along, and all of a sudden, a hairy baby, strolls on the interstate, causing him to lock up and shut down his rig. I mean, he knows that's not a human baby, but it's a baby, and he's not going to run over that baby. And Sasquatches, the male comes off the side of the road, looks at the truck, and picture that in your mind, looking up at that great big Peterbilt truck with the eyes, with the lights on you. You're helpless. But he picked up that baby and took the baby off the side of the road in plain view of everybody. But he was the trucker was holding up the traffic, so nobody could run over that baby. He says that his window was rolled down. I don't know about you guys, but when these guys are sitting up in those rigs in the front seat, they're pretty high off the ground. I don't know how tall that is.
Well, I used to have to climb and up on the step and grab the mirror just to talk to him, right?
Yeah, I mean it's I don't know, what is it, Grizz? Is it 6 foot, 7 foot? I don't know.
Well, I would have to say at least 7.5.
Yeah. He says that while he's sitting there with that truck humming, blocking the traffic, in shock by what he sees, he hears the heavy footfalls of something coming up alongside the cab. And his arm is outside the window, probably with his hand on the mirror, I would guess. I've seen it so many times. He says that this big hairy hand touched his arm,
Yeah.
And she turned around. He said it was a female. Obviously, it was a female. He said, and turned around and gave him that that cutesy smile. Maybe he says maybe it was a way of thanking me for not running over that baby. But it really threw him for the loop, having experienced that. As though these things showed emotion at the moment, and they were appreciative of the fact that the man driving that big machine didn't run over their baby. They glance back at him, the female. So that is that was different,
Yeah, that would freak me out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt. It felt like human emotions. It wasn't animalistic communications. It was a person, a people talking in just caveman gibberish, non-English communicative. But they were talking very fast, different. And you could tell. Like I compare it to a married couple because you could feel the emotions and it almost like personality. And it was like trying to like a bar fight about to happen. Like, try to calm down, pushing on the man. Just don't do nothing. Don't, it's fine. He has a gun. Just, and I felt like something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's the only time I've ever been that scared. I've had a lot of big rocks being thrown, and I would consider that trying to be scared out of the woods. But that was the only time I really thought I was actually in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like it to me.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's pretty amazing. So I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of stuff. I think I posted a 3-part thread about Sasquatches killing people. That's a lot. There's a lot. Again, this big fat story, that Bigfoots don't do that to people. That's not right. If you're going to praise them for all the good that they do, show the whole story. Be transparent with people. Don't be sneaky. Don't show people just the lipstick, the window dressing. Let me see what's behind the curtain. And don't get mad at me if I show it to you. If it's not to your liking or if it's not what you expected, don't be mad at me. I like transparency. I like to know what everything is. In order to make good decisions, you have to be well informed. In order to be well informed, you have to read all you can find on a topic, so you know what you're talking about. You take that information and you measure it, weigh it, probe it, decide what's good, what's bad, and then that's how you make your decisions. So it was a great show.
It was a wonderful show. Yes. Yolanda, send me a hello on Messenger. I got so many messages. I got to find you. But yeah, send me a hello and I'll send you my email. It was great, Blake. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate
we really
you guys
enjoyed
having me
it.
on.
Yeah, it was great. But I do think you were saved by that female. That's where I believe. Yes, absolutely. So, because when I was younger, I can say that has actually saved me many times for me doing things I could have been in trouble and gotten people arrested. So, Brian Barber wants to know what's your next spot to go before I'll let you go.
We were trying to go up to a place up north next month. So that's
Great.
the biggest one we're trying to do.
Great. And how do people get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on Facebook. We have a Lost Cryptids Conservatory group, page. You can see me posting in there. And then the YouTube channel.
Awesome. Well, Val, another one good in the books. I'm glad we had him on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast and around the world, that's a wrap. And Godspeed, and we'll catch you on the next show, ladies and gentlemen.
Take
care. Thanks,
Thank you,
Blake.
guys.
Have
Good
a
night,
good one.
guys.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.